So I haven't really known how to tell you this yet. I have a full-time job, and to be able to pursue this dream, share with you that I want to create this traveling wellness studio, all while working 40 hours a week. It's a struggle. It's a challenge. And I know a lot of times challenges can be overcome, but I have been sitting with this for a little while, knowing that while I fully trust that the time to create this traveling wellness studio is now, the time is now. It's divinely timed for me to create this. I still have to have my responsibilities taken care of at my full-time job, which is working for a nonprofit. And it's our busiest season right now. We are creating and planning and strategizing for this biggest fundraiser of the year. And I can't tell you why the nudge felt like it needed to happen right now to begin this journey of the Traveling Wellness Studio, of creating these videos on YouTube. But I'm doing it. Is it hard? Yes. Yes, it is. If you ask my friends, they will tell you that I have shared and expressed with them a little bit of concern around burnout. You know, I'm on the computer for 8 hours a day, sometimes a little longer, because I'm marketing for the nonprofit. I'm on social media. I'm on websites. I'm doing design. I'm doing ticket sales. I'm doing a lot of things from a logistical aspect for this fundraiser. And then feeling like I can have the time to come home and get right back on the computer. That was a struggle for me. It really was. But this is where one of my core values of self-discipline really comes into play. But it can be hard, you guys. Have you ever gone through something like this? Have you built a business all while working a full-time job? If you have, you know where I'm coming from. You know where this struggle really lives. And it can be exhausting, not only mentally, but physically. It can be taxing on my emotions. You know, it's really important for me too to make time to spend with my husband and our family and our little dog. But I also know that this dream is a part of my soul purpose. You know, it's really interesting with where I am currently in my life right now, working again at a corporate kind of structured environment. It's a nonprofit, but there's still a lot of the similarities to the corporate world. And I want to take you back to 2021. I had just enrolled for the Breathwork Facilitator program. I was so excited to begin this journey. It was cosmically lined up for me to enroll in this. And breathwork is something that I had never heard about. Never. And after hearing a podcast episode where the title was, "Is Breathwork the New Yoga?" that intrigued me so much. I pressed play on that podcast and heard Samantha Skelly's voice. She's with Pause Breathwork. And everything that she was saying hit me on my soul level. Like every layer of my soul she spoke to. And it was at that moment where I realized I needed to take this step for myself. I was at a point in my career where I was working as a project manager at a very well-known financial institution here in my neighborhood. And I had to make a decision within like 3 months. whether or not I was going to stay on as a contracted consultant or quote unquote convert into a full-time employee. Now, I knew neither of those options were in alignment for me. Knowing that I was so inspired by this breathwork course and enrolling in it, okay, this was even before I had asked my husband. Now, looking back, doing it differently, I would have probably consulted with him a little bit more, but this just felt so right. And I needed to make a decision for me for once. That was the first time I had done that. So, fast forward a little bit into January of 2021. The election from 2020 had just concluded. There was, again, a lot going on in my job, having to make this really critical decision. Do I stay or do I go? And I was 33 years old at the time. It took me 33 years, again, to make this decision for myself. But it didn't come with ease and grace. I actually wound up at the ER on January 16th of 2021 with chest pains. It was really hard to breathe. Obviously, at the time, we had a virus going around that was of great concern, but I was tested for everything under the sun and it came back negative. So the question was, what the hell was going on? I left the ER after 9 hours of being there. And that was a very pivotal moment for me. I left the hospital being diagnosed with pericardial effusion, which at the time I didn't realize was a side effect to COVID. It's a long COVID kind of symptom. But not knowing truly, fully 100% at the time, I left there really, really looking at my life, taking a full inventory of where I was. Was I happy? Considering all of these aspects around my job, around my relationship, many of them, not just my husband, but with many relationships. I was going through really a spiritual awakening at the time. I was questioning a lot of things. I was questioning a lot about my philosophies to life, what I really believed in. And this ER trip was certainly a catalyst event for my life. And I have a really deep passion for an understanding to know that there are stored emotions in our bodies, and that in certain places of our bodies are certain emotions that are being stored. And knowing that I had such a deep connection to what was going on in my heart, from an energetic perspective, this was my body putting myself through the grieving process much earlier than making the decision to finally leave corporate. This was that catalyst event for me. It changed my life. I wouldn't have been able to explore all of what the breathwork facilitator course had in store for me. I wouldn't have been able to really immerse myself in the program and in the coursework, because the first 3 months, it was deep. It was a lot of internal healing. It was doing breathwork patterns that this program was teaching for me to work through my own stuff. And it was the perfect time. It really was the perfect time based on what I was dealing with from a health perspective, my mental, emotional standpoint. It was all so beautifully intervened with this breathwork facilitator course. And I met amazing people along the way who are still friends to this day. And so those first 3 months of the program were really intensive, but really purposeful. and I learned a lot about myself. And then the last 3 months, I was putting it all into practice and ended up graduating the program in October of 2021. In my last video, I talked with you about a journal entry on my definition of success, which that journal entry was dated October 23rd of 2021. And I have gone through a lot of ups and downs since then. I remained out of corporate America, which is so funny because when I first decided this, again, not consulting my husband, which, sorry for that, babe, but it was a decision that I needed to make for me. You know, at the age that I was at, I knew that I didn't want to stay in an environment simply because of the consistent pay or the benefits. You know, none of that was resonating with me. I really needed to focus on myself, and so that's what I did. But at the time, I said, give me 90 days. Give me 90 days just to really figure out where my life is going to go, what I want to do. 90 days turned into 2.5 years. And of course, there were financial ups and downs. I was attempting to start a business with facilitating breathwork, starting to network with people in the spiritual community here in where I live, and it was a little bit harder than I anticipated, but it taught me a lot. It taught me mostly a lot about myself, how resilient I can be, how perseverant I can be. And by following my fears, you know, even doing things like this that are a little scary, a little nerve-wracking, it's been teaching me every single week. And I'm just coming to the realization that the timing of my life is exactly what it's supposed to be. The timing of your life is exactly where it's supposed to be. You are in this moment just as much as I am on purpose. But it's what we do with this present moment and how we choose to use our thoughts, use our actions to move the energy in a way that is co-creative with the universe, with your source of love, with God, whatever you believe in. And I had the opportunity to do that. And I'm thankful. I really am thankful for that time frame. You know, after those 2.5 years, things in our society were changing. Prices of things were going up. Our savings was dwindling. And so I ended up working part-time as a volunteer. And then I moved into a full-time driving opportunity with a company called Meals on Wheels. And it was so cosmic as well. My boss there at the company, she actually was a participant at a retreat that I had co-hosted with some of my other spiritual friends that are in town. And so we sat across the office desk from each other during the interview. And I left there thinking, why does she look so familiar? And it was that evening, actually. I ended up sending a newsletter through my business account, and she was on my newsletter list, ended up forwarding me that and was like, this is where I know you. And so crazy enough, we actually were sitting next to each other during one of the activities at the retreat. So we were literally like super close. And we've grown a relationship ever since. And so it's just these small little things that have occurred since 2021. You know, moving through this physical pain, because it was painful. It wasn't comfortable by any means what I was going through. But I gave myself the time and the space to receive. And even though it wasn't super ideal for me, I wasn't super thrilled of going back into the workforce, I knew that I needed to help provide for my family. And that was also on purpose too. The way that this all lined up was exactly meant to happen. I met a lot of amazing people at this company. I worked there. I moved into a different role. I became the volunteer coordinator, then started to branch out and work with a lot of other amazing individuals in the community. But that job started to take a toll on me. It did. Without going into too much detail, it was just starting to feel a lot like burnout. And the moment that that feeling like overtook my body, overtook my mental space, I knew that I needed to depart.